What motivated you to establish Hope House?
In about 2001, a group of 24 Bethel members decided to learn about mission. We went together to Washington, D.C. to spend some time looking at Samaritan Inns, a project that our son was very involved with. And we learned different kinds of missions. When we came back, we said, now what do we do with this new knowledge? It turned out that Claire and I said the same thing. We were on opposite sides of the circle, but she had been a social worker and had seen the need for homeless young mothers with new babies to have stress release and help with the newborns and therefore housing. And I, who had been a school guidance counselor, saw the same thing. Young moms with young children who weren't welcome to stay or live anywhere. And we wanted to build love and trust in these young children from day one. And we knew that taking the stress off the homelessness and overseeing some parenting and creating a community, a home if you will, we decided that was the way to go.
I would say at the conclusion of our mission work in Washington, D.C., the morning before we left, we sat in a circle and all of us were expected to come up with some idea about how we can bring the mission home. And Carrie and I actually were sitting next to each other.
Oh, okay.
And started talking about teenage moms and what a problem it was for teens pregnant and newly birthed to have a place to live. And it was sort of like a little spark went off, and we said, oh, let's try something like that.
That's right.
Yeah.
And luckily, you had already worked on something through Madison Community Foundation with another group who had been talking about the same big need in Madison.
Absolutely. I was on the grant-making committee for the Madison Community Foundation, and we heard a grant proposal from the Dane County Parent Council to start a home for teenage moms and their kids. And it looked to me like we might have a fit, because I knew you need more than money, you need lots of person power.
And don't you think at first they almost wondered, with this church community, how would we fit in with such a kind of a government-sponsored organization?
Oh, for sure, yes. There were some concerns that we might attempt to make the project too religious for a government project, secular government project. But we had faith, didn't we?
We did. And we said, you know, this is to take care of the whole person.
That's
and
right.
that includes soul, really.
Absolutely.
And we worked well together, and all of a sudden they saw all these wonderful volunteers from Bethel coming to cook with the young moms, picking up furniture, helping them get started in their new homes, holding babies, interacting, managing the house, putting in air conditioning, new roofs, new windows, raising funds.
That was the board.
That was the board,
together.
all right.
Bethel came up with an amazing number of people who had real skills in building and in budgets.
Yes,
and
that's right.
Grant writing and all the things that you need when you start thinking about keeping a project alive. And we were very fortunate that these folks all had volunteer time, or gave us volunteer time, a lot of it. There was also a council that the Dane County Parent Council had started. And we had representatives from a lot of social agencies in town who also were like the community board. So for the first, I think, 5 years, both the community board and the Bethel board had to learn to work together, and we went through various stages of...
And then at one point, Bethel really took over the project, and basically we contracted with DCPC, Dane County Parent Council, to hire the social worker and to oversee the house mother. And that was really a big help for us, not to really worry so much about that part.
I think it's really important that we mention that Early Head Start is the area, is the agency that we serve. Early Head Start is a program for moms and babies who are 0 to 3 years old. And all of our moms who are homeless come from that program. And the reason they had started writing a grant about it in the first place is they recognized that about 47% of the young moms they were interviewing for the Early Head Start program about 47% were homeless sometime during the first year of the baby's life.
Imagine that for young moms and babies to have such a high rate of homelessness.
Right.
And the blessing for us in all of that was that their advocates stay with the young families for 3 years. So once they get independent and can get their own apartments and have jobs and have the daycare for the children, then they're not just cut loose. They have advocates who stay with them for up to 3 years. So that's really...
And those advocates help them with bill
Yes.
paying, with eviction notices that might get in the way of their trying to find a new place to live. They do a huge amount of social services, plus the fact that the babies are being cared for in daycare.
And don't you agree, we have learned so much about needs that you wouldn't even think of, from dental work to social service kinds of needs to relationship needs and help finishing their GEDs. I mean, we have one woman who spoke 5 languages, and we have some who've gone on to MATC. And it's just remarkable, but it's a time of life where they just need a little boost.
Extra boost.
That's right.
I should mention that we do try to include fathers. The Early Head Start program does try to work with the fathers of these young babies, too. That is a sort of touch and go, and there isn't a really strong service component to working with the dads, although they do have group meetings. And we have encouraged some of the dads who have actually come over and helped with yard work.
Yeah.
We find that they like to come because it feels like home inside Hope House, which is a lovely three bedroom, well, actually almost 4 bedroom, I guess we'd say, split level home in a nice suburban area of the city. And
On a bus line with good support from the neighbors, a little playground right next door.
right.
And I think the young moms feel really supported by the loving kindness of we as visitors, as people who cook with them, and who, bring blankets and teddy bears and help fill some of the medical needs and advice.
We've had some really good luck with other service agencies, I
Yes.
guess you'd call them, in town. I'm thinking especially of the West Rotary Group,
Yeah.
who asked us to give a presentation to them, and as a result, they started building bookcases and supplying books to Hope House, so that each mom, when she leaves Hope House, can leave with her own bookshelf and the store of books that is provided by the Rotary folks. That's a kind of wonderful idea that would come at the end of thinking about need,
Yes.
but it's really important to all of
Yes.
us.
And the little things we discover are so exciting to be a part of. Like, I remember one mother never talked to her baby because she thought, of course, the baby couldn't talk. And of course, we said, this is where you interact with your child. They'll, learn to be communicators and feel loved and sparkle. And oh, she was so excited to learn that bit of advice. And that was just kind of an example of some of the small things we all take for granted who grew up in more normal homes.
I should say that the Madison Community Foundation,
It's okay.
the Madison Community Foundation,
Let's hold on. Just a sec. There you go.
okay.
Okay.
The Madison Community Foundation did offer $110,000 to get this project underway. And since that time, we've had to find other funding. The United Way is now one of our funders.
Yes. But we also write proposals. We have a team right here from Bethel who volunteer their time, and they write proposals and letters, send out mailings. We have banks here that people fill with their small change, and we're just able to keep many families going as a result.
What we've learned is it costs about $1,000 a month to house a mom and baby in a program like Hope House. So in the beginning, we tried to limit a mom's stay to about 3 months, thinking that that would give them time to get organized and so forth. With the problems of housing and just general decline in resources in our community, we now have the moms staying from 6 to 9 months before we can find a place for them. The idea in the beginning was to show how many moms we could support in a year. And actually our rate of staying independent and in their own apartments is still about 80%.
Are successfully working, contributing to everything from taxes to raising their own children and living on their own successfully. That's a pretty good rate.
Right.
Of course, we'd like 100%, wouldn't we?
But as we learned this morning, that's